All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you all very much for coming out. Much appreciated as always. Hope you have a good week. I hope you had a good week. Hope you have a better weekend. Sorry. Screwed that up. Anyway, and before I get too distracted here, good afternoon, Veronica.
Good afternoon, Gimpy, and hello, everyone. Have a great stream.
Okay, there we go. And hey, Voop Rules, welcome back. And over to chat, lurkers, other people. Happy Friday.
Your next break is in 1 hour.
Okay, so Fridays stuff, whatever. Let's see. So today we're going to play some more. Play some MechWarrior Online. Haven't played this since December. No, sorry, December, not December. October. Last time we played this was for Extra Life. That's been pretty much my schedule for MechWarrior Online for the most part. Is play it once every 6 months or so. Why? Because it's a game that I really can't stream every day anymore like I used to, or pretty much almost every day. I definitely usually can't do 6-hour streams. Well, let's put it this way. I couldn't stream this. I guess we should be a little more clear. Is it still alive? It's alive. Whether it's on live support or not is a different thing. Yes, it is actually supported. They got a patch. They get monthly patches and stuff. They've added new maps and everything. Even technically, they've added new mechs, even though they're not new mechs. They're just new variations of existing mechs. But it is still being supported. But the game is pretty much on live support because there's just not a lot of people playing it. But for those who don't know, that are new to the stream or somewhat new to the stream, as in you've only started watching the stream with the last 3 years or so or more, MechWarrior Online was the first game I streamed. And it was the only game I streamed for like 2000. It was I started streaming in October of 2012, and this is pretty much the only game I pretty much streamed until 2015, 2016. So basically, my first 4 years of streaming were nothing but MechWarrior Online, and yeah. And why did I stop playing it? Burnout, and the game wasn't headed in the direction I was hoping it was going to go in or wanted it to go in, and it still hasn't, never will at this point, because they've basically said that the game is what it is, and it's going to be up as long as it continues to bring in some money. Not a lot, obviously, but, there's been talk of, what about a MechWarrior Online 2? And blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And PGI has said that MechWarrior Online 2 is not really a thing, or going to be a thing, mainly because the money that would be required to make it doesn't. They now that they have the experience with doing MechWarrior Online and knowing how much money it costs to make it and how much money they're going to make from it, is my interpretation of what they said is MechWarrior Online is not, if they make a 2, the chances are of it making the money that they would need to make back from development of a new game is not gonna happen, because the audience just isn't there. It really isn't. So I confounded. No. New events every month. Every other month. Oh, it's every other month? Or I thought it was every month. But, MechWarrior Online, I love the game. I really do. It's just that it hasn't gone in the direction I was hoping it would go in. And that's why I pretty much stopped playing it for the most part. But I keep coming back to it every couple of months, or every 6 months or so, for charity reasons, because it has helped me raise a fair amount of money over the years. And that's a good thing. So that's why I keep coming back to it during fundraising stuff. Every other week. Oh, new events every other week. Well, that works. So, but anyway, so like I said, and having said this, is I have, according to Steam, I have a little over 2,000 hours since it's been on Steam, but it didn't hit Steam until what, 2015, 2016, something like that. And I'd been playing it for 4 years before then. So, 2,000, I'd probably have double, that time easily, because I used to play it pretty much every day for a minimum of 2 hours a day. When it first came out in early 2012 and closed beta, played it all through there, and then for the next 4 or 5 years or so, played it pretty much every day for, like I said, 2 to 3 hours roughly. Hey, Tarkus, welcome back, and Snuffkin, welcome back. Melee combat would be nice. It would be. Not going to happen, though. Hey, Dwaggy, welcome back. At this point, you just accept what the game is and take it as it is. Exactly, Jeff. And that's the problem. Because the game as it is not what I want. And therefore, I don't put a lot of time into it. And, like I said, I play it like once or twice every 6 months for about 6 hours or so. And that's pretty much it. And why don't I stream it more than that? Because I got burned out on it. Again, the game is not what I wanted. And, it's just trying to be honest here. And I can't see myself, playing it more than 6 hours every 6 months. Typically. So, now having said, hey, Maki, welcome back. Hope you're doing well as well. Has there ever been a point in which it was much closer to what you wanted to be? No. No. I mean, when it was in closed beta, it was close. To be honest, when it was in closed beta, it was what it was supposed to be for the most part. It was heading in that direction. But then things went to the wayside, and because, well, there's different things that happened during closed beta. Like, one of the things was supposed to be the repair and rearm system, which very, very, very few people liked. I liked it, but the general consensus was they didn't like it. So PGI tweaked some stuff around, and instead of having to, repair your mechs after combat, if they were, depending on how much damage they took and that kind of stuff, is they just adjusted how many C-bills you earned, right? So what they did is they cut down how many C-bills you were earning per match to basically simulate the idea that you're repairing your mech. And people were happy with that, despite the fact that it was actually a negative thing. So, but, and that's the way it is, and I'm not going to, harp on that and stuff, but, that's just the way it is. And then, after they left closed beta, went in open beta, blah, 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 the clans came out in, 2014? In June of 2014, I think it was, or somewhere around there. And we knew they were coming no matter what because of the time frame that they picked, because the game originally started in the year 3050. The clans start their invasion and later of 3050, maybe early 3051. And, so the progression of the timeline there. Bringing the clans in was okay. Not going to argue that point because the clan mechs and stuff, they were a big selling point because a lot of the pre-MechWarrior Online games were also, had the clan mechs in them. So knew those were coming, and there's just a question, how are they going to do it? And so they just brought them in, and they were throwing them in the quick match, or everybody was playing in quick matches, and everything was fine for the most part. There were some imbalance issues and that kind of stuff, but they got adjusted, and it's still being worked on, all these years later. And, there's that. But then they introduced community warfare, aka faction play, and this is where you have, you're basically fighting over planets. And in the Battletech universe pre-3050, it's the great houses that are fighting each other for territory, and which means all inner sphere mechs are just fighting other inner sphere mechs. But because we have clan mechs now that came in 3051, is now the inner sphere houses aren't supposed to be fighting each other anymore. They're fighting against the clans, and this was the concept of the faction warfare or community warfare. Or faction player or community warfare. They changed names. And the general idea was you have 4 mechs per drop, and you're fighting inner sphere versus clans. Now the problem was, this is where they shift away from the lore, which, some people just don't care about the lore, but in lore, they balanced the fighting out, kind of, sort of. And again, this was handled through role-playing and the novels and all this other fun stuff. In video games, it doesn't work so well, but in the lore, the way it was supposed to be is the inner sphere fought in battalions. Basically 3 lances of 4 mechs each,
Hello,
so 12
everyone.
mechs total. Like Veronica,
my name is Veronica, and welcome to Gimpy's Twitch channel. If you are enjoying what you are watching, please click the follow button in the lower right corner of the video screen. That way you will be notified by Twitch when Gimpy goes live.
You talk too slow.
You can also find Gimpy on YouTube, where he posts previous episodes and highlights of the stream. Just scroll down under the video screen and click the YouTube button in the About section. Then click the subscribe button to follow. Also, please like and comment on his videos. He won't bite. I promise. That's it. Thanks.
I am letting her do her job. She does her job very well. But as I was saying, so in lore, typically engagements between the Inner Sphere and the clans was the Inner Sphere brought in their little battalions of 3 lances of 4 mechs each, and the clans brought in their stars of mechs. And with a binary stars, basically their stars were 5 mechs each, but they only bring in 2 to combat because they like to fight at a either they felt that number was honorable because the clans, again, role playing, they're fighting for honor, and they want to challenge themselves, so they always try to put themselves at a slight disadvantage so that they can say we kicked your ass even though you outnumbered us type stuff because we're better than you. That's the route they do. That doesn't work in a video game. But when PGI did the faction warfare thing, is what they did is they put 12 Inner Sphere mechs against 12 clan mechs. And that doesn't really work in gaming either because the clan mechs are generally better technology and they are better. The pilots aren't necessarily better, but the mechs are typically better. They have longer range weapons, they hit a little bit harder, they're faster, more heat efficient, that kind of stuff. Again, doesn't work so well in a video game if you do straight lore, that kind of stuff. And PGI didn't really vary that too much. So 12 clans of overall lower tonnage, though. Depend. Again, it depends on the role-playing aspect, the novel you're reading, or the situation and stuff. They didn't necessarily have to be lower tonnage, but they usually, again, this is the whole role-playing aspect of what the clans did, is they always came in with a disadvantage to their fights just to prove how good they were as their pilots, how good they were. It wasn't for them, it wasn't my technology is better than your technology, it's I'm better than you. And the Inner Sphere went, but our technology sucks and we're not better than you, so we brought in more than you. So, and that's how that's supposed to work, right? It basically numbers, it's quantity over quantity for the IS, quality of the clans. And again, that's very hard to do in video games without getting people alienated, that kind of fun stuff. And so PGI made the decision, 12 versus 12, and then we'll tweak everything to try to balance it out that way through tweaking the software and the game stuff. Didn't work so well. Didn't work so well. And then there's other technology issues related to the game itself. There's fundamental flaws to the game, specifically pinpoint accuracy with high loaded damage. That's the major issue in the game. Always has been. They kind of tried to deal with it back in closed beta, but they used the excuse that the system they wanted to use was too taxing on the servers and blah blah blah, and it wasn't going to work. And they threw it out the window. Whether it was going to work or not is a different story, but But anyway, so we have pinpoint damage, and the reason pinpoint damage is bad because basically you have these larger mechs, typically even sometimes smaller mechs, that basically unload all their weapons into a single point on their target, and they either blow off arms, legs, center torsos, heads, whatever. And it's a fundamental flaw of the video game itself. In the tabletop of BattleTech, it's not such a flaw in the fact because there are dice involved to determine hit locations. So on the tabletop, in BattleTech, and even in the BattleTech game itself, the computer game that came out a couple of years ago, is the hit locations are kind of randomized, and in the video game is you can still do some, pinpoint damage by positioning either behind a mech or to the side, so you're limiting the amount of locations you can actually hit. In the first person shooter like MechWarrior, that doesn't exist unless you put in, things like a firing cone. And as soon as you start mentioning firing cone in a shooter like MechWarrior Online, all hell breaks loose. People start, their heads explode, and they can't handle that. Despite the fact that a firing cone would probably keep more players around longer. But nobody cares about that. So, yeah. 12. In the faction warfare, they have slightly less tonnage to deal with in MechWarrior Online. I forget about that. Yes, the clan site does have slightly lower tonnage for the mechs that they can bring in. Again, but it doesn't really matter too much. Well, again, I haven't played Faction Warfare in years, so I don't know what it's like these days, other than it's probably dead because the population of the game is too low. But I don't know. I don't know how it's in my when I was playing Faction Warfare when it was still somewhat new and stuff. The clans pretty much dominated all the time. And some of it has to do with because the bigger units, the mercenary units in the game, they went clan for the most part. Some of them didn't. Some of them did the role-playing thing and stayed with the houses and stuff. But for the most part, the clan mechs, the clan groups still dominated because the clan mechs are just superior. And they still are to this day, at least from my memory at least. I know they've tried to tweak stuff, with weapon damage and all this other fun stuff and quirks. Quirks. So, anyway, we could talk about this all day if we really want. Yes, the game is what it is. Jeff, it is what it is. Two clan commanders were negotiating who would take a mission with less than their superiority would choose to get dropped, unless you need the more honor you gain. Exactly. And that's not a thing in the video game, because there is no honor in the game. Very niche within MWO at the moment, and it's only active at certain times of the week. Yeah, because, again, it's only active at certain times of the week because the population is so low. And at least the people that are playing have agreed to, playing during those times of the week. Or at least that's what they figured out to do. So, but again, this is this game is something we can talk about for a long time. With what's gone right and what's gone wrong. And currently, the game is dying slowly but surely. And you can't say, oh, the game has been out for 10 plus years. So they should be lucky to be doing this. There are games that have been out longer than this game, and they're doing better than this game. So can't throw that one out there. So 750 to 1250 persons at any given time. Yeah, that's way too low. That's so low. For a game like this, it's way too low. Because and we're going to run into this today probably with the matchmaker, with matches and stuff, is because the population is so low, we're going to see a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but we're going to see some imbalanced games because the matchmaker doesn't really balance very well. It's always had a tendency to put better players, like say it's going to be, it's 12 versus 12. So there's 24 players in there. The matchmaker has always had this tendency, or at least not very good at splitting people up of better skill levels. Say, even though there's a tier, there's tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's supposed to be a measure of people's experience and skill. Well, what it does, though, sometimes, is not everybody in tier 1 is of the same skill level. And even though you'll have, say, one tier 1 person on each side, and you have some like 2s and 3s and 4s or 5s, whatever, however split up, you don't get to see everybody's tiers. You're just guesstimating what, you can ask everybody, and you have to believe what they said if you want to do that kind of stuff. But PGI knows. And it doesn't always balance out because, again, just because you're tier 3 doesn't mean that the guy on the other side of the team that's tier 3 is the same, skill level, knowledge level as you. It just means they're there. It doesn't mean really that much. And because the population is so low, you end up with mismatches. And even though the matchmaker thinks it's supposed to be balanced, I don't know exactly what they're using to balance these days. So we'll see what happens and go from there. So yes, MechWarrior is a niche market. BattleTech and MechWarrior are very much a niche market. Can't make money? I don't know about that. The BattleTech Kickstarter has raised, I think, over $6 million for their next thing, which doesn't sound like... It sounds like a lot of money, but it doesn't sound like a lot of money. I mean, this is for a tabletop game, and you go, oh, well, if they're making that much money off a tabletop game, they should make much more money off video games. Well, not really. Because, again, it's a very niche market. It's more complicated than your standard shooters, and as a result, it doesn't pull in as much big as an audience. So, help your team, but if you don't make damage kills, you drop in tier. Yeah, but that's not something that happens in one match. That does take time. Yeah, the scoring system to actually keep your match score.
Gimpy is raising money for the National MS Society for the 10th year in a row here on Twitch. WalkMS 2023 in San Diego is April 22nd, but Mrs. Gimpy, Mickey, Rocket, and Gimpy will be doing private walks in April and May. They are walking 1 mile for every $1,000 raised. If you would like to help with a donation, please visit stompingoutms.org. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And Jeff, the BattleTech game did not sell well enough for them to continue. That is correct. The BattleTech game that was made by Harebrained Schemes, Harebrained Schemes put out 3 DLCs, I think it was, and then they decided to move on to the next project. Whether that was contractual stuff or they just didn't make enough money off of it, we don't really know because they haven't told us. But BattleTech was absorbed by Paradox. Or sorry, not Battle. The Harebrained Schemes was absorbed by Paradox, so they work for them now, and they are working on a new turn-based game, and it's supposed to be coming out, I think, later this year. I think, but they moved away from BattleTech, and more than likely is because it didn't sell as well as I hoped it would, and and PGI has been kind of. Let's see, just sketchy on how successful MechWarrior 5 has been. And they are apparently working on a project that they're going to announce in September officially. And what's it going to be? More than likely, my guess is going to be, it's going to be MechWarrior 5, the clans, or some variation of that, because they have not introduced clan mechs into MechWarrior 5 yet, or at least, yeah, they haven't done clan mechs yet. So I have a feeling that's what their next project is, because that it requires the least amount of investment on their part, because they already have models based from MechWarrior Online that all they have to do is just move them over, which takes a little bit of work and stuff, do some type of storyline work, whatever they're going to do. But it's the least amount of investment with maybe the most amount of dollars to get. A lot less money than it would take to develop a MechWarrior Online 2. So, and how much money are they going to make out of it? Who knows? Who knows how much money they're going to make? So, be a free-to-play MechWarrior card game. That wouldn't be horrible, You get 3 billion C-bills. I don't need to spend money on the game. Yeah, there's that problem too. Is people that have been playing the game for a long time have enough C-bills that they don't have to buy really anything else. And if you've been gathering all your MC over the years, you should probably have a fair amount to, well, I don't know. They give out MC from time to time. But, yeah, it's, the question is, how much longer is the MWO going to live? We don't know. But as long as they can continue to make some money to keep the lights on, I think it'll be up. Because it's also a way to advertise MechWarrior 5 games or whatever their next thing is. It's you got the kind of almost a captive audience of BattleTech / MechWarrior people. So we'll see how that goes.